Oscar goes to. And the Oscar goes to.
The Oscar goes to.
And the Oscar goes to.
And the Oscar goes to.
Hello and welcome back to the Not That Oscar podcast extended edition, whatever you want to call it. It's basically me from my TikTok, but longer. So if you like me, you're in the right place. There's a lot more of it here. We haven't done an episode in a while. It's been a hot minute, you know. What are the excuses? Christmas. I quit my job. That's the big news. We'll do a sort of just a hello and then we'll get into the deep dive of it all, because today we're discussing so much from December recap, the best, the worst, box office, Avatar 3, Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers. We're also talking Stranger Things, whether that's actually over or not. The sort of ownership that Harlan Coben has over Netflix shows. So much, basically. But let me just catch you up on my life. I'm still painfully single. You guys don't care about it. It's a TV and film show. Yeah, I quit my job. What? How are you going to afford to live? Well, that relies solely on you guys. Whoa, look, for audio listeners, my new poster I literally put up maybe 2 minutes ago has already unraveled itself. Look at that. So I'm just gonna fix that, and then I'll be right back. And just like that, he returns. Like nothing changed. It's for my audio listeners. It's my 100 must-watch movies. I got it for Christmas. It's like a scratch thingy. There's a lot of films on there that I have watched. Surprisingly, only 24 of them, I think, is when I last counted. So we're going to be scratching that off this year. Along with, I aim to get through at least 200 of the top 250 films on Letterboxd, because some of them you can't find. Some of them would cost me like 50 quid to rent, and I'm not doing that. Some of them are like trilogies, and it's like the third in a trilogy. So it's going to be difficult. Obviously, there will be films I've already seen. I probably won't rewatch all of them, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, yes, I quit my job. How am I going to live? We'll figure that out as time comes. I will be doing this full time now. So a lot more TikToks, a lot more podcasts, hopefully some live streams. It's all very exciting. So if you like that, please follow, please share. Rate the show 5 stars. Some of you are watching and or listening on Spotify, so you can rate it there. If it's on YouTube, follow, like, subscribe, whatever it is you have to do on your respective platform. But share it with your mates. That'd be great. Thank you very much. Anyway, let's get jumping into it. Section 1 is the December recap. Now, I watched 24 movies in December. I believe it was 17 were new to me, so not all in 2025. Like The Shining. I'd never seen The Shining before. I know, a huge gap in my sort of cinephile brain, but that's now been ticked off. I also watched a couple comfort movies to end the year. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I've watched Avatar 3 times now. I always make it my aim to start the year and end the year with 2 films that I know I love, because you don't want it ending or finishing on starting on a bad note. Anyway, so let's talk some of the best and worst of the month. Well, in terms of 2025 releases, definitively the worst film of the month, and it's very, very low down on my entire list of the year, is Fackham Hall. It is dreadful in every sense. The comedy kind of gets old after about 5 minutes because all the jokes sort of repeat themselves. If you like Jimmy Carr, if you like stupid slapstick comedy, it's for you, which it should be for me as well. But somehow, I really found it quite unwatchable. Anaconda, again, made like a shed load of cash. We're going to be talking box office, but just as a little tease, as of today, it's a 96% gain on its production budget. So it's doing pretty well for a bad film. That's what I find a little bit frustrating. Is films that are fantastic don't get the love and cover they deserve. I'm going to be doing a TikTok video on that in a few days about films from 2025 that quote unquote flopped, but were still very good. Like Bugonia didn't make much money. Roofman didn't make that much money. And there's just a couple examples for you. Five Nights at Freddy 2 continues the train of what the hell. Nostalgia carries cinema, whether you like it or not. It's worse than the first film. They said it would be scarier. They said it'd be a bit more lore accurate. Neither of which I felt were particularly true. Let me know your thoughts. Again, you can comment on Spotify, by the way, or on YouTube, wherever you are. Let me know. It made a shed load of cash, okay? And stick around because I'll tell you the exact numbers shortly. The Housemaid is breaking records, right? It might become who distributed The Housemaid. Bear with me. I can check it out. It's someone like Paramount or Lionsgate. That's who it is, Lionsgate. It might be Lionsgate's biggest film like ever, or at least of this year. It's kind of crazy. I mean, obviously not ever. They did the Hunger Games movies and John Wick. But I think this year, definitely, it will become its biggest. It's on track for like 200 mil, I think, off a 35 mil budget. Crazy! So I guess shout out to them, you know. At least you made money. And that's good because it fuels other films. Other films like Ella McKay was dreadful. I finally got around to watching After the Hunt, pretty poor. But let's get on to some of the good stuff, okay? So some of the best of the month was obviously Avatar 3. We don't need to dive into that too much. I've already got a video breaking that down, a full podcast. Go check that out. It is sensational. I've watched it 3 times, and it is now sat definitively at a 4.5 and a like on my letterbox. That's what I think of the film. It's my second favourite of the trilogy. Way of Water might be one of my favourite action movies of the last 10 years. Okay? I'm going to put my hands out and say that. I think it's sensational. Talking of sensational is, of course, Marty Supreme. Timothée Chalamet picked up Best Actor at the Critics' Choice Awards last night. Last night being the 4th of January. So he's on the road for, you know, greatness. He's dreaming big and he's acquiring those awards. That poster just came down again and it scared me. We're going to leave it. But I want to talk about a couple of films that I caught up on from the past, okay? Some recommendations. I finally got round to watching 2 movies that have been on my watch list for a very long time. And that was Drive and The Holdovers. The Holdovers might be one of the best Christmas movies ever made. Okay, stand out. It was 5 stars and a like. The max you can give it on Letterboxd. It was sensational and will be something I will happily revisit and show people in the future. And Drive, I absolutely loved. It just, I mean, there's something about sort of the score and the lack of communication in your traditional sense. There's very little for Ryan Gosling to say. It's all about what he does and how his face reacts to things. It's an incredible performance and truly is a must-watch if you've not got around to it. Catch Me If You Can as well has been on my watch list for a very long time. Gave that 4.5 and a like. A very great comfort movie. Surprisingly long, you know, but the early 2000s loved a long movie. I mean, look at like Lord of the Rings. Okay, so we're that's sort of the recap of December. My best, my worst. Also, a quick shout out to Freaky Tales. If you love anthology films, that was a big favorite of mine. I gave it a 3.5 and a like. So a 7 out of 10 is still a very respectable score. Like, it's not the best movie in the world, and the whole, like, Pedro Pascal, Tom Hanks are in this movie. It's a bit of a lie, because they're in it for, like, 10 minutes. But it's very good, the section that they're in. It's got Jack Champion in it from Avatar 3. He plays Spider. It's really fun. It's quite peculiar, and I do think it is worth you checking out. Let's discuss the box office of the month. So this is sort of the biggest results. Let's get on to Housemaid. It's currently sat at a gain of 280% from its production budget. Now, we don't know the marketing costs for all of these movies. It's usually between 50 and 100%. But because that varies film to film, I don't know specifically. Some of them I can tell you pretty much bang on. So The Housemaid production budget, 35 million. Worldwide box office, as of today, 133 million. It is on track for 200 million because it's gaining week on week, which is incredible. I mean, look, I've got to be honest. It's a very average thriller drama. Sydney Sweeney can act. I think she is a pretty great actress. We know that from the likes of Euphoria. But what she's been doing in the last few years is odd, because she's not that great in this. She loves to play the dumb blonde, sexy blonde role. And she isn't dumb. But I don't know why she keeps going for these sort of roles. She can do more, and I hope she does more. Anyway, that's making a lot of buku money. Talking about letting mate of buku money, Anaconda, 45 million production budget, currently sat at 89 million worldwide. That's a nearly 100% gain. Five Nights at Freddy 2 is one of the most insane films, like, ever, right? It's currently sat from a production budget of 36 million at $231 million worldwide. That's over 300% gain. Do you know how mental that is for a film that is worse than its original? And it's, 15, 18 rated? Yeah, crazy. We're guaranteed to get a third in the franchise. I'm going to call it probably 4 and 5 as well, because if they're being built off 25 to 40 million and they're bringing in 200 million plus, they will keep getting made. That is a lot of money. Avatar Fire and Ash finally crosses the $1 billion mark. James Cameron, the first director ever to have 4 $1 billion movies. Not even in a row. No other director has had 4 $1 billion movies. Franchises have, studios have, but not one director. And that is... It's so hard to put into words how insane that is. So I got a scratch on my foot. So shout out to Big Jim. That's currently at 200% gain. It needs to make a lot more money. Let's get that clear. But I think it's on track to hit 1.7. Remember, we are just about 2 weeks into its run, like 16, 17 days. International markets are loving it. But what is absolutely dethroning it is not Marty Supreme, sadly. It is currently on a negative, a minus 17% from its production budget. Quite a high one, the highest ever for A24. There goes my poster. 70 million was its production budget. I don't quite know where it went because there's no huge set pieces, but that's okay. I'm not judging. 70 million's small in the scale of some films. Currently sat just under 60 million worldwide. Again, it's having a rollout across territories, which I think is odd to do the whole Mighty Supreme Christmas Day, Mighty Supreme Christmas Day, Mighty Supreme Christmas Day, and then it be Boxing Day for the UK, limited, wide on the 1st, and then other countries are getting it throughout January as well. Odd marketing dynamic. I think if you're having your lead actor saying Mighty Supreme Christmas Day, Mighty Supreme Christmas Day, Mighty Supreme Christmas Day over and over and over, and then it's not available Christmas Day in 99% of the territories, feels odd. Even releasing over Christmas, I think, like, no one's going to cinemas Christmas Day. Not in the UK, at least. I don't know whether you're listening elsewhere in the world. Let me know, please. Wicked for Good, 250% gain. It's currently sat at 518 million worldwide off a $150 million box office budget. Sorry, less than its first because it's worse in every way possible. It got nominated for costume design for Critics' Choice, which is fine, but it is still one of the ugliest movies ever. If you're watching this, by the way, you can see my green screen just there. Everything is the same color as that. It's a very weird setup. It's such a plain landscape. I never really liked it. But Zootopia 2 is breaking records. It's become the #1 movie again over a month after its release in China. In like the likes of France, people are just lapping this stuff up. $150 million production budget. $1.5 billion worldwide. That's nearly 1,000% gain. Do you know how mental that is? And considering the first one made 1.4 billion, I think. I might have to check that. Absolutely mental. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but it is a very enjoyable movie, and it's for all age ranges. I went in in a crowd that was predominantly children, because I saw it sort of early afternoon, and they were loving it. They were very respectful, I've got to be honest. It was a pretty good crowd considering the age ranges. But there was some adults in there with kids. I was just there for film purposes, obviously. And everybody was laughing and enjoying it. It's very sweet. I do want them to make more. They will make more. There's obviously a little cutscene at the end that sort of shows that. What's interesting in the box office in December is Stranger Things. Yes, a TV show had its finale run in the cinema if you're in America, and it made $25 to $28 million across the US. And just in AMC alone, they sold 753,000 tickets that brought in $15 million. Now, you might be thinking, Oscar, that's not a lot of money in comparison to some of the films you just said, the 1.5 billion from Zootopia. Yeah, you're right. But in most cases, the theatre gets to keep anywhere between 40 and 60% of the revenue that a film makes, right? So 50% average, not with Stranger Things, because Netflix don't have enough backing by the guilds across America. The Actors Guilds, the Screenwriters Guilds, all of them, they basically don't have enough, like, right, you're not releasing your films often enough in cinema, so we're not going to give you any agreements that you get any money back. So, at $28 million, went straight back to the theatres in 100% of its, of the cash went to them, which is great news because that's just free money for them, and they're obviously selling popcorn and drinks as well. And in a world where Netflix are trying to buy Warner Brothers and reduce the cinematic window from the traditional 45 days for huge films, 30 days for your smaller ones, maybe 25 for tiny indie movies, sometimes even less if they can't secure the days, they want to reduce all Warner Brother releases to 17 days. And that is detrimental to the industry. Okay, if you have Superman, Man of Tomorrow, that releases in 2027, releasing for just 17 days in cinemas, that means that if a film is incredibly popular, all of the showings sell out. Maybe you're on holiday. Maybe you just can't get to the cinema. Maybe, cinemas are expensive. Maybe you can't afford it till next month. There's so many reasons as to why people won't be able to go watch these films. Okay, if you look at Zootopia, which is still bringing in money, people are still seeing it for the first time in cinemas now, and it's been out for like 5 weeks. You're reducing that to 2 weeks. You are just ruining the industry. You're taking so much cash away from the theatres. It's a real shame, and I don't really understand what Netflix are getting at. Originally Ted Sarandos was like, oh, we're going to honour this, and we're going to let everybody, have their full theatrical window. I thought maybe he'd bring it down to 30 days, which I could kind of say is okay. Like, a lot of people do wait for films now to come out on streaming because it's expensive to go all the time. But they do sometimes seek out the big blockbusters and them all going on to streaming after like 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. But great that Stranger Things generated so much money for the theatres in America. I think continuing on the Netflix line for now, I'm kind of worried about their monopoly they're going to have over not just film, but TV, sport, the entertainment industry in general is going to be run by Netflix. Whether you like it or not, that is what's going to happen. They already own the rights to the NFL. They own the rights to WWE. They own the rights to some boxing events. We had Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua on there. I don't have the numbers for how many people watched that, but I imagine it was huge. They're trying to acquire the second biggest studio in film history, Warner Brothers. Netflix have the majority of the share right now in terms of consumers, right? Warner Brothers are the second. The first buy and the second is never good for anybody because, say I'm selling my film, and I'm like, right, okay, I need $50 million to get this made. Neon can't afford that. Focus can't afford that. Universal, Sony, Apple, 20th Century, Paramount, they can't all afford that. Warner Brothers and Netflix can go, oh, yeah, we can afford it. But your film is going straight onto streaming. And you're like, oh, crap, well, now it won't be available for any awards. And, you know, not everybody's going to be able to see it, but everybody will see it. But then it's going to get drowned out by other movies they're releasing at the same time. You're basically selling yourself to them. And they'll go, well, actually, we're not going to give you 50. We'll give you 40. And all of the other studios go, well, we can't even match that. We can give you 20. And it's like, well, do I either get my movie made and it gets lost in the depths of streaming, or do I not get it made at all? Unfortunately, you're in a position where you have to get that film made, because it's incredibly difficult for films to get made. I mean, they go through years and years of scripts and rewriting, and studios changing things. And you know, if it links to a wider universe, you have to align with what the studio and the industry and the fans want, because people are making movies for fans now. We can discuss that at another point, whether that's good or bad. And it's a real shame that sort of choices are being removed from the likes of filmmakers, and it's a real shame. And I think, thankfully, people like Christopher Nolan won't sell their soul to the likes of Netflix. I think he's one of the few that he can get backing from anybody, because you'll know it'll make money. And I think he could move away from the likes of Warner Brothers and being tempted by any of that. Because, I mean, look, if A24 turn around and say, Nolan, we'll buy your next movie, it makes complete sense for them, because they would make so much cash. They could just, pull it all together somehow. James Gunn is selling his soul to Netflix. He said that he loves the idea of the acquisition. He thinks it's really exciting for the future of the DC universe. I think he's politely, James Gunn, I would love to work with you one day, but I think that is a stupid thing to say. Your films won't get the love and respect they deserve if someone's watching them on an iPhone or, even on a laptop. They need to be seen on the big screen. And sometimes it's cheaper for some people to go to the cinema than it is to pay for subscription services. There's already so many services out there. It's not possible for everybody to have all of them. But shout out in terms of offering availability of films to Letterboxd. Letterboxd announced in December, I think it was, their video store. So you can go onto their app and you can rent films that never got distribution. And what's even more brilliant about it is a film called It Ends, which is a horror movie that didn't get distribution after getting a pretty good sort of reception early last year, is that lots of people were buying it or renting it and going, I love this film. People talking about it online. Kit Laser gave it a huge shout out on his TikTok. And then Neon have picked it up and they're going to distribute it in 2026. And that is absolutely fantastic that more opportunities are coming through for so many of these films. So I think overall, look, cinema is in an interesting place right now. There's so many great stories like Neon backing such a small film, It Ends, and giving them the opportunity to be seen by the world. I think that's brilliant. And then you have the demons that are Netflix that are taking everything over. And look, some of what they do is good. Okay, you look at Frankenstein, you look at Adolescence. Even J. Kelly has its positives. Train Dreams, one of the most beautiful movies of last year. They do have films in their catalogue that are fantastic. Wake Up Dead Man. But they are also doing things that is, whether it's their fault or not, detrimental to the industry. So I will hate on it because I can. And they obviously are doing things like reducing cinematic window from 45 days to 17 days if they get the ownership of Warner Brothers. But TV show-wise, Netflix, again, unfortunately, are sort of leading the race there. Stranger Things is doing big numbers worldwide. People are not particularly pleased with the finale. Let me know what you think of the season 5 in general. I loved episode 6. Very creepy. I think it was done by Sean Levy. Sort of the melting walls, Nancy and Jonathan. There's a lot of duos in that episode that go through a variety of ups and downs. It's a really loving episode. I was a big fan of it, of sort of finally bringing so many characters together after, 40 episodes. I think the finale, I did a video on my TikTok today being like, is it actually over? There's been a lot of leaks, or not leaks, just conversations online about, is it really done? Have we been faked out? Will Netflix actually release a finale because there's so many things in the finale that are just not very good, or they're like, oh, why is it filmed like that? Why is that character looking directly in the camera? Why is everybody standing like Vecna does? There's so many different sort of theories around the finale being over or not over. I do sadly think it is done. I do expect them to return to Stranger Things in the future, El Camino style. If you've watched Breaking Bad, I do expect them to do a film in a couple of years. You've also got like the Immortal Man from Peaky Blinders. This is what happens, you know, when you wait a few years, you know, new people watch the show, it gets talked about, and it's an obvious money-making scheme. I think it'd be stupid for them actually to leave Stranger Things behind. I think they should. I would love it to be done, because films get dragged out, or shows get dragged out for too long, and it kind of ruins their legacy. But business-wise, it would be stupid them to leave Stranger Things behind. We have the prequel sequel show that takes place between seasons 2 and 3 in the spring. That's called Tales of 85. I'll be deep diving that on my channels, so make sure you follow me everywhere. That's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. It's all at Not That Oscar. Same for Letterboxd as well, so you should check that out. But Harlan Coben is back with a new show on Netflix called Runaway. That has knocked Stranger Things off the #1 spot, at least here in the UK for TV shows. I'm halfway through it. I am actually thoroughly enjoying it. I made a video where a couple of people in the comments slagged me off. They were like, this is like the worst writing ever. Let me get it clear. It's not going to win awards. It's not record-breaking TV, but it is quite enjoyable. I love a murder mystery. We have a couple coming out this month alone. We have His and Hers on Netflix. I'm going to be breaking that down on the channel, specifically on my TikTok. And then we have Agatha Christie, a new show from her, obviously not from her, but from people creating her stuff, called Seven Dials. The cast looks amazing. We've got Martin Freeman in it as somebody that looks like he's a policeman, or is he involved in the show somehow? I don't know. I'm very, very excited. I think 2026 is going to be one of the biggest years ever for the entertainment industry. Okay, you've got The Boys, Invincible, Daredevil, The Pitt, all returning to our screens, as well as The Odyssey, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Avengers, the drama. You've got a new Hunger Games movie, Wuthering Heights. Is Narnia this year? I mean, look, the list goes on and on and on. But what do you think is the most exciting this year? Let me know in the comments. What are you most looking forward to? What show? What film? Give me some recommendations for TV shows. I'm terrible with TV. I never complete a series. It just gets too much for me. But that is most of the news, the updates, my thoughts on December moving into 2026. As usual, let me know all of your thoughts down below. I quickly want to just shout out the Critics' Choice Awards. They made some fantastic choices. Timmy won Best Actor. You got things like cinematography went to Train Dreams. Hallelujah. If you've not watched Train Dreams on Netflix, it is genuinely one of the most beautiful things. But interesting, take a look at this, right? In terms of just for the films section, the awards, Paramount won 2 awards, 20th Century Studios won 1 award, Apple won 2, Sony won 0, Universal 0, Neon 1, A24 1, Focus 1, Netflix 7, and Warner Brothers 8. The 2 big dogs picked up 15 awards between the 2 of them, and they could possibly become one entity at the end of the year. I mean, talk about pure domination, right? Whether you think the merger is good or bad or undecided, they clearly produce good stuff in most cases. I think Netflix has its ups and downs. Warner Brothers is more up than not. It gave, we got a Best Supporting Actress for Weapons, which is incredible. I mean, so rarely does horror movies get into anything. It might get a nomination, but it never wins. So Amy Madigan, a huge win for her for Best Supporting Actress. She played who did she play? She played, what's that character? Gladys. She played Gladys, a very creepy character. Anyway, I'm so excited for January, surprisingly. There's so many films on the horizon. Check my TikTok because I did a watch list. This is what you need to keep an eye out for January. We've got a lot of TV to cover. Agatha Christie returns. A new drama thriller called His and Hers. You've got Jason Statham returning at the end of the month. There's a stupendous amount of movies that I'm very, very excited for. For example, let me quickly give you a few of them because I don't want to leave you sort of hanging. We have Bury the Dead, which is a new Daisy Ridley zombie movie. Primate is this thing on. Dead Man's Wire. I'm going to be doing a video on that in 2 days' time because how this film got made is incredible. 19 days they did it in. We obviously have the big release 28 years later, The Bone Temple. I'm watching the first one and the second one back to back a day early. So stick around for my instant reaction. You have the return of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck with The Rip. No Other Choice gets a wide release, one of my favourite films of last year. And then you get some AI slop called Okay, annoyingly, my phone ran out of storage there for a second, so apologies about that. But there's a couple very exciting films. Not Mercy, I will be watching on the 23rd of January. We also have the likes of Iron Lung. Markiplier has his first movie out, a YouTuber. Yes, last year we had Shelby Oaks, a YouTuber, made that movie. Whether you liked it or not, that's up to you to decide. Iron Lung, I'm very excited for. You also have Sam Raimi returning with with Send Help. Charlie XCX's new movie, which is sort of a mockumentary called The Moment. And then, as I said, at the end of the month, for everybody, is Jason Statham's Shelter. So much to look forward to. I'll be breaking it down, as always, on my TikTok primarily. And then every week we'll be talking the best and worst of that week. The news, maybe if there's a big topic to discuss, we might review certain films in a lot of depth, like the ones Avatar 3. I did like an hour-long video on that. But if you want to see me talk about or watch certain things, let me know by dropping your comments down below. Subscribe or follow for more. Rate the show 5 stars if you're listening on Spotify. Share it with your friends on YouTube. All of the normal shebang, right? Thank you very much. Here's to a very big 2026. And I'll see you soon.